Consider what you've heard through the COVID-19 pandemic. The headlines, the media, the tweets, the vast majority have been about how COVID has had devastating impacts on long term care residents. We know that studies show more RN time and better ratios of RNs show improved outcomes for residents. Many of these terrible outcomes can be linked back to the long term care residents' complex health conditions, insufficient staffing complement, and the heavy reliance on unpaid caregivers who were unavailable during the pandemic. There continues to be a discrepancy in the nurse to patient ratio between acute care and long term care. I've argued that the skill mix and the ratio should be the same because long term care residents have complex health needs with multiple comorbidities and have unpredictable health care needs. That's why they're in long term care to begin with. Colleagues who disagree try to argue that long term care residents have lower acuity, there's a lack of available nurses in the system, and a lack of funding. Studies show that residents are being admitted later in their trajectory of illness and are therefore more dependent and have more complex needs. Residents being admitted to long term care today are not the same kinds of residents that were admitted 10 years ago. They're more complex, more unstable, and require specialized care in addition to their ADL care. The staffing models have not kept up with the evolving resident care needs, and there's been an increasing reliance on unpaid caregivers. Family members are being expected to come in and provide physical care to their loved ones, which makes it very difficult for them to have meaningful visits, and it creates added pressure on their relationship. When residents are not being cared for in the way that they should be by the appropriate care team, it creates added stress on the whole system. If there were more RNs available to provide care, not only would residents' quality of life improve, the negative outcomes like emerge visits would decrease, which creates a cost savings and eases pressure on the already strained acute care system. Finally, there's been discussion about the supply of nurses in the system, and quite frankly, we should not accept that as a good enough answer. It's our responsibility to advocate for the best possible care for our residents and always strive to improve on that. We do not base best practices based on available resourcing. We identify best practices, and the system is to make that happen, not the other way around. In closing, I implore everyone to really consider why anyone would argue against long term care residents receiving the best care. They deserve to receive high quality care and have a high quality of life. Would we have seen the same terrible, devastating outcomes in long term care throughout the pandemic if our staffing ratios and models were the same as what we see in acute care? I don't think so.